their place in this fragile and fractured nation. Despite all of that, Medgar Evers had a deep and unfaltering love for Mississippi. He loved its pastoral plains, deep rivers, and wooded areas where he could fish and hunt and feed his family with his physical labor. His love for the Black farmers and maids and butlers and strivers of this tormented state gave his life meaning. Myrlie Evers demanded more than once that Medgar tell her if he loved her and his children more than his work. He pressed her to understand that he did his work because he loved her and their children. He didn't want them to live as he did, growing up walking by the bloody clothes of a lynched Black man on his way to school and seeing Black men and women abused and disrespected as a daily fact of life. He was determined to exorcise the ghosts in the trees that whispered to him and his brother that in Mississippi and throughout America, people like them were something less than human. Medgar's work was a labor of love. Francis H. Mitchell, in his November 1958 profile of Medgar for Ebony, noted a plaque hanging on the living room wall of the Evers home in Jackson. On it was a quote from President Abraham Lincoln that for Mitchell, a groundbreaking figure as a Black photographer and journalist of that era, seemed to sum up Medgar's relationship with his God and with the white man at the same moment. Lincoln's words on the plaque were published in Harper's Weekly in July 1865, 3 months after his assassination. I have been driven many times to my knees by the overwhelming conviction that I had nowhere else to go. My own wisdom and that of all about me seemed insufficient for that day. James Baldwin, the eminent Black American author, met Medgar Evers shortly after New Year's Day in 1963, as Baldwin embarked on a lecture tour throughout the American South for the Congress on Racial Equality, in response to the violent riots that accompanied James Meredith's integration of the University of Mississippi months before. Meredith's bid to enter Ole Miss had been backed by Medgar, who had himself been rejected by the state's premier college simply because he was Black. Baldwin quickly became close to Medgar, and decades later recalled him as a great man, a beautiful man, and a troublemaker in the way that Baldwin respected, and that he possessed the calm of someone who knows they're going to die before their time, like Martin Luther King. Baldwin returned to the United States from self-exile in Paris in 1957 and dove into civil rights. He befriended each of the 3 men he declared to be the core triumvirate of the movement, Dr. King, Malcolm X, and Medgar. All 3 were troublemakers in the eyes of the racist white Southern establishment and the federal government, particularly the FBI, which also kept a file on Baldwin. Medgar would be the first to meet the fate that the eminent author had perceived as all but inevitable. In the early morning hours of June 12, 1963, Medgar Evers was shot in the carport of his home in Jackson, Mississippi, by an assassin with links to Mississippi's White Citizens Council and the Ku Klux Klan. Medgar was just 37 years old. Myrlie, who was only 30, became the widowed single mother of 3 young children and the frightened and despondent but determined author of her martyred husband's legacy. Love had made Myrlie put up with the fear and dread that came with being the wife of a civil rights leader who was continually on the hit list of the Mississippi KKK and hated by every racist in the state, Kluxer or not. Love made her put up with the threatening phone calls and the terror her children endured as they learned to drop to the floor if they heard gunshots and to hide in the bathtub if the bad men came for their daddy. And love would make Myrlie pick herself up off the bloody pavement where Medgar lay dying and turn her screams and rage into a determination to hunt the killer for decades until she got justice for her slain husband and her family. Evers' assassination came amid a national torrent of civil rights demonstrations, sit-ins, federal troops-backed college desegregations, and demands from Black demonstrators across the South.